Welcome to day one, week one, lesson one, all the ones. Guys, how are you? Kim Kelty Gorski here, creator of Balance Over Perfect and the Breakthrough Legacy Mastermind. Oh, get settled, get excited. We got 12 weeks worth of content that is going to not only change your life, elevate your life, but also refocus your life. That's one of the reasons why I bet you got into this group. You know, of course, being around amazing women like you is a piece, but refocusing really where you are in your life and how to level that up, how to be able to break through, as literal as it sounds, and create that legacy, as literal as that sounds, of your life. Not anyone else's, yours. So over the next course of the 3 months, you're going to find yourself uncomfortable, unsure, and afraid. I'm going to call you out right now. First minute of the call, you are going to find yourself uncomfortable, unsure, and afraid. Why? Because we need that. It is not something that we are striving to live this caged life. Brendon Burchard, one of my amazing mentors, and I will reference him quite a bit because the great thing about what I do for a living is that it's a culmination of other mentors, other masterminds that I've been in to be able to create my twist to bring to your life. Reason why I'm able to create my twist is because I've most likely, if not 99.1%, have been where you've been at. Not exact situations, not exact feelings, but we've been through something in our lives to know we want to break through to a legacy that is worth living for. So worth living for, what does that look like? So it may be something where you are in here for more of a self-love. I really want to get, a ton done in the day and feel great about my body. That's worth living for. If you were here and you were like, I want to create, my legacy with a gym in my local area to be able to skyrocket the impact and the imprint in others' lives and yourself. That's even cooler to know that when you impact and imprint on others' lives, you're doing the same on yours. That is not selfish, that is self-care. And we learn that along this journey, but we also need to be reminded of these kind of tools and these kind of resources. Self-care is not selfish. It is self-care for your mind, body, and soul to be able to exude that to others. So you also may be in here because you're stuck. You're kind of in a pivot. You kind of know what you want to do, but you're stuck. But that stuck feeling has actually gotten you into a comfortable state. That state of thinking and feeling and doing is normal. Because guess what? That's what you've been thinking, doing, and being for quite some time. When I found myself stuck about 3 years ago, I said to myself, is it ever going to change? Is my mindset going to change? Are my goals going to change? Is my life going to change? And that's why I say this is going to be uncomfortable. This is going to be an unknown for you. And this is going to be scary. Because doing this kind of mindset work, doing this kind of action steps, doing this kind of ability to create a life worth living for, hell yeah, that's scary. Hell yeah, that's uncomfortable. And yes, that's unknown. So now, let's get to the exciting part, because it's not all dreary. It's not all this sucks, but it is worth fighting for. And that's where I want you to really start to think forward. So in today's episode, we are going to talk about forward thinking and the new beginnings you're about to embark on. At the end of this lesson, you're going to have a worksheet that you're going to be able to fill out to be able to reflect on today's call. This is something we're going to do over the next 12 weeks. So be prepared for my voice for 12 more weeks and a worksheet to really have it come into action. Because when we reflect and when we actually write things down, we start to make these things happen. So for a long time, we've been probably thinking in our heads, probably dreaming about those life that we want to live. But does anyone in your life know about it? Do you even really know about it? And that's where the writing down and the journaling and the reflecting is really going to start to really have you come out of this thinking in the past or thinking it's not possible to now I'm forward thinking. So what does forward thinking into the future look like? So forward thinking into the future is really being able to accept the past. So during the breakthrough blueprint that most of you have gone through, we have really talked about the past. And the great thing about the past is, being aware of it. So how are we aware of that past? How are we aware that it has affected us? And we go through the process and we start to say, okay, where can I show up for present day now? How can I show up for the best me? Because going to the past all the time, AKA that's a lot of therapy work, which I highly recommend. I'm huge on therapy. I've been in therapy, but what I can say is that therapy does serve a purpose. It serves a purpose on understanding that past, chipping away at layers that we may not really even know why they're there, but we do know that we don't have the self-worth that we want. We do know we have self-limiting beliefs that are crippling us. And we do know that our life is not the life we thought it would be. And why I say thought it would be is because you have this gut instinct when you see someone on Facebook or when you hear a podcast or when you see someone on the streets and say, man, how did they get there? And this is the kind of thinking that we start to do, is that forward future thinking. So therapy is going to take care of that. The breakthrough blueprint has taken care of that, of the past. Now the breakthrough legacy mastermind is going to take care of that forward future thinking, where you're now motivated because of the future. You're now inspired because of what you want going forward, not the past. The past doesn't really inspire us because first off, it happened yesterday or several days before. And second, it may be holding you back. And I also want to point this out. It does not mean our past had to be so bad. You could have great parents, great memories, great outcomes, great experience, and great feelings. But there could have been just one instance that just really changed the course of your life. And that is where we go to new beginnings. We're recreating the past. And that is something where we try to have these new beginnings, but we're really just recreating our past. So you hear the break the cycle, stop the vicious cycle, stop the madness. And it's really because we only know what we know. And so when someone says to me, I'm kind of embarrassed that I don't know this already, or I'm frustrated that I haven't done this already. Well, guess what? You don't know what you don't know. And I say that a million more times probably throughout this process, is that the tools and resources that we have in our life is all we can go off of. So this personal development, this professional development, this masterminding, I didn't know about this 3 years ago. So yeah, I took a huge chunk of my first year to 2 years of really trying to create this legacy of mine, beating myself up. So if I can give you one piece of amazing advice, I hope I give you several, is stop beating yourself up. You don't know what you don't know. And now you're stepping into new tools, new resources, and new action plans for your future. So recreating the past is what you've been doing. And it doesn't mean you can't take things from the past and move it forward. That's huge. Oof, that's huge. I have so many things about my past that I'm taking forward, but I also have many things that I'm not taking forward because I'm creating a new future for myself and my family and my loved ones around me and the amazing women like you around me. So Now, what does creating a new future look like? What's that experience? And that's going to be into 4 steps. 4 steps. You're going to initiate the thought. So, for example, you want to get a new job. So you initiate that thought, I want to get a new job. I feel I can have more impact, more imprint, more purpose, more excitement through my life with this new job. All right, you initiated that thought. Awesome. Now, let's get into the imagine. And this is probably one of the most underutilized tools that we have is vision. Is taking time out of your day to write down what it would be to have a new job. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that even smell like? So when I do this, I get into a space where I'm as much quiet as possible. Nature is a huge one for me. It helps me really be able to see and feel and believe and really create that vision. But I start journaling, or I do an audio message, or I just have those thoughts. And you start to really feel yourself in that new job. Getting dressed for the day, doing your hair differently, have a little extra kick in your step. You got that new lip gloss and you're just feeling super fierce with that. Your new purse is acting as your work bag. Oh, I love my new Kate Spade purse that I was able to put in my my journals and my computer, because that's all I needed to go to work. And then I leave for the day. And I go to a local Starbucks because I can work wherever I want. And I order a green tea almond milk latte. And I have time to thank the person at the cashier, the barista, because I'm able to see that being grateful and having those moments of gratitude just for that $4 Starbucks coffee. And then I sit down and I see all the people around me and I say, hey, I don't know them, but they got a cool story. I open up my journal for the day. I open up my planner for the day and I write down, I brain dump everything. And I feel this sense of sigh and this sense of relief that, wow, I created something that I imagined. Wow, I'm never going to take this for granted. I know it's going to be hard. I know it's going to be uncomfortable. I know the unknown is always there. And I fear the failure. I really fear it. But what if I go for it? What if I have this life that I always imagined, where I'm able to overlook a sunrise and a sunset at any state, country that I choose? Wow. And that's the kind of stuff I used to write. I used to envision this on my drive I had a 3-hour round trip commute and 15+ hour days, and I came home completely exhausted. But I imagined it. I manifested it. And yeah, it didn't feel like it was close. It didn't feel like there was a light at the end of the tunnel, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. So the next tip to create that future experience for you is the tools and the tasks necessary to get there. So the tools, the resources, the to-do list, the qualities and the knowledge that you need to learn to get there. So what do you need to do to get there? So I need to learn where I can find this kind of job. I need to reach out to people that are doing this job that I want. I need to ask these questions. I need to be able to say, hey, you are doing what I'm doing. Do you mind if I ask you the 5 moves that got you there? Oh, I just gave my assistant this kind of feedback. I said, okay, you want to become a blogger, a fashion blogger. Okay, so how do you do that? Oh, I don't know. Well, do you know someone else that's doing it? Yeah, I mean, I follow quite a bit of people. All right, well, go reach out to them and ask them the 5 moves that got them to the point that they're at. Oh, I can't do that. Why? Well, I mean, why would they want to tell me that? Well, why wouldn't they? Well, I never really thought of that. All right, well, now go do it. Ah, she was scared. She was fearful. But guess what? That kind of movement and that kind of questioning and that kind of action, that is going to set you apart from the rest. Because you're asking them, hey, I know you're really busy, but what are the 5 moves that got you to where you are right now? Because I'm an aspiring fashion blogger and I freaking admire what you do. What's the worst that can happen? No response? Well, guess what? You're not getting a response now without asking. But what's the best that can happen? They can be flattered and they could be giving you those 5 moves. And guess what? I got an opportunity for you. Oh, shit just got real. So this one, number 3, tools and tasks. Write this one down. I hope you're writing it all down. Number 4, execute it. This is where we mostly get stopped. And this is where you're able to say, can I take what I've learned with the task and tools and all this things I've been doing over some time, but also knowing that you're going to come across obstacles. I'm going to repeat that again. You're going to come across obstacles. This life of legacy is not for the faint of heart. And I've heard that for many years from my dad. And I heard it when I was the faint of heart. I was like, I don't think I can cut this. I don't think I can go through this. I can barely pay my bills. I put my family in financial stress. I am drowning with these self-limiting beliefs, and I barely know what to do to get out of this. Oh, thank God. I thank God every day that I executed and I was going through those obstacles, because I can relate to you now. I can feel your pain, and I can also show you the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's a big thing about forward future thinking, is that when you're in therapy or when you're in the process of really, those self-limiting beliefs, let me take a glass of water right now, is that you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I remember when I first started my business, I remember always posting about the light at the end of the tunnel. And I didn't realize 3 years later it would come back to me when I was reading some content for this program. And I said, whoa, that is what got me out. Knowing that there was light at the end of the tunnel. And what was that light? And that's this new future experience for you. That's the light. Because that's what motivates us. What we aspire to be is what gets up us every day. That is where, when I ask you, what is your why in life? You're going to know. Why? Because you finally saw that glimpse, that crack in the wall, that shining through, so dim, but that light is going to be your future. And then you start chipping away and you start to see now a golf size hole. And you're like, wow, okay, it's still far, but it's coming. Oh, it's coming. And then all of a sudden, the hole is a size of a basketball. You can now put your hand through it. You can now almost reach it. Man, that feels good. Oh, that feels so good. Oh my God, I feel the warmth on my hand. I can almost feel exactly what it's going to feel like. All right, I'm going to keep on going. And then all of a sudden, that hole that once was just a tiny little crack that barely a speck of dust could get through, now it's a door. It's the size of a door. You can now walk through it. You can now look at the darkness of the past. You can now feel the heat on your face. Oh, you can now feel what it feels like to be in the light. That, my friend, is forward thinking. And that is what's going to help you close your eyes at night and wake your eyes in the morning when things are not easy. When things get way too tough, you are crying in your basement, in the pile of laundry, and praying to God, help me. I can't do this anymore. I can't feel this way. I can't work this way. I can't be this way. Help me. And then you walk through. And guess what? And then you go through it all again. Did I just burst your bubble? Because what happens is when you get to that future, you're going to aspire to be more and do more. You're going to have different things that's going to make you get up, because that's what life is all about. That is what a life worth living for, living for, is all about. So now we're going to take the journey to thrive. You're not surviving, sister, you're thriving. And we're going to bring this one home with this. And then I'm going to get you into your worksheet. So thriving is not a destination that we reach permanently fulfilled, but rather an ongoing experience of personal growth, and evolution. That's what thriving is. I'm going to repeat that. Thriving is not a destination that we reach permanently fulfilled, but rather an ongoing experience of personal growth and evolution. So that's why I burst your bubble. Again, I'm keeping it real, and I'm getting you set up for the rest of the next 3 months. Because when we want to thrive, it's not permanent. It's not permanent to feel on top of the world. But what is permanent is having that heighten, which is that thrive, and sustained. So how do we reach that heighten, that thrive, that we feel like we're thriving and not surviving anymore? And that is how to thrive and feel better about what you're doing in your life. So I'm going to take you through 4 steps right here. And this is where I'm going to really weed out or set you up. And this is different. And I told you this was going to be hard. This is going to be uncomfortable. And this is going to be something that's going to challenge you. But guess what? Why pay me as your mentor and someone to be able to move you forward if I'm not going to challenge you? Because when I ask you what 3 months from now, you walking into July is going to look like, oh, that's going to take some work, sister. But guess what? It's going to be fun. It's going to be fulfilling. And it's going to be where you're fueled on all cylinders. Fun, fulfilled, fueled. That is what's going to come from it. All this hard work is not going to be boring. All this hard work is not going to be unsettling. It's going to have some relief, and I'm going to help you with that. So, number 1, how to thrive and feel better about where you're going. Be willing to change. So when I ask you to close your eyes and really imagine that future, are you willing to change? Are you willing to make the necessary steps to change? Because change is uncomfortable. Change is uncertain. Change is scary. But are you willing to do it? You don't need to know all A, B, C, all the way to X, Y, and Z to get it done, to change. But you do have to be willing. You have to be open, and you have to ask yourself, am I willing to change? And then the second one is a big one that I really want to have you take away from today. Because this is a quality that a lot of us don't have naturally. And it's also a quality after we hear it, we may need to hear it quite a few more times. So I'm going to revisit this one. But for you to be able to thrive and feel better about where you're going, are you ready to accept responsibility? Because it's a responsibility that you must accept by recognizing that everything you do matters. I read that today, and it was just very timely for what we're doing. It is a responsibility you must accept by recognizing that everything you do matters. So what is accepting responsibility? Accepting responsibility is you taking a step back and saying, my past experiences happened. Yes, they did. But they're not going to dictate my future, my present and my future. Are you accepting that though? I'm not saying that everything in your past is your fault, but what I am saying is that if you want to move into your future and you still aren't accepting that you're taking responsibility of holding on to that past, holding on to those beliefs, yes, it is your fault now. And I am not discounting that the past was hard. I am not discounting that it is not easy to get through it. But what I am saying is that when you accept responsibility, you start to feel better about your life because you've now taken the control and power back. I recently had a situation where I needed to learn another lesson in my life. And I felt I was learning this lesson for far too long. And what had to change? Me. Not the other person, me. I needed to take responsibility that I have not been direct and clear and very, very clear on where I stand as an individual, where I stand with my integrity of how I run my life and my business. So I let this person know. And I was very direct. And what a big thing I do to my advantage and my faults is that I'm someone's friend first. And then I want to work with them and be their mentor and their business partner, or, working alongside of them. But what I will say is that I have found a new sense of love for a business bond, because what I'm doing with you guys right now is we have a business bond together. You have entrusted me to challenge you to greater limits. It doesn't negate the fact that I just want to kick it and have some wine with you. But there also is a line where I have to say that you've asked me to help me along your journey. Either if that's a health, a fitness, a mindset, a relationship, a career, whatever that is, we've taken a business bond. So I've accepted responsibility that I have not been clear over the last couple of years with this individual because I wasn't clear and I wasn't confident enough. But over time, my competency, AKA me doing it over and over and over, created confidence for me to take responsibility. So yeah, what the person did wasn't great, but guess what? This person is not going to dictate my happiness, not any longer. It's not going to dictate how I show up for others. And that is all on me. So you see how that happened? It was a hard situation. It was a hard time. But I accepted responsibility because I am the only person that is with me 24/7. Remember that. No one has to live in your mind and your body as much as you do. So when you take others' opinions, viewpoints, and way of living into your 24/7 body, that's not okay. And that is where it needs to be stopped. And that is where you start to say, this is my life. This is my time. And I'm taking responsibility and taking the actions necessary to get there. And that is where we go to the third piece. Own your choices. So what does that look like? So I heard a story the other day where it was about, they were in Europe. So I don't remember where in Europe, but it was about a guy that was caught with marijuana. So it's not really like how it is in the States where, it's becoming legalized. And also it's it's a big deal if you get caught, but it's not like you're not going to jail for 25 to 30 years, depending on your case. But this in Europe is like a huge offense. It's not tolerated and you're going to jail and you're sitting there. So this story was about a guy that was a prisoner to this, and he had two choices. He could dwell and have this be the rest of his life, or he can make a choice to make this the best of his life. So what he started doing was, volunteering within the gym, putting together groups of people that he was encouraging and talking about different ways of thinking. He took it upon himself to have nice with the guards because he wanted one day to be able to send out mail to someone. And the moral of the story is that he chose to live a different life. And that man got out. He got out on good behavior, and he got out on the hope that there was a different life that he could have lived. And that's kind of the cliff notes of the story. But how many times have we been through situations where we have a choice to make? Something that is not going to serve us, or something that's going to really generate some greatness into our life. So that's our day to day. We have a choice every day. So I have a choice every day to wake up open, grateful, and satisfied. Those are my 3 words I remind myself every day on how I want to feel, regardless of what happens with my husband, regardless what happens with my job, regardless what happens with people around me, regardless what happens with my family. I have a choice. And then I also have a choice to show up for you, to be present, excited, and caring. So I had someone a couple weeks ago when I was away say to me, man, I wish I had your enthusiasm. I wish I had, that energy you had. And I said, you can. I just make this choice. Oh, it's not that easy. You're right, it isn't that easy. But guess what? Is the other way easy? So you choose your hard. You choose the route that you want to go down. And I told them about how I remind myself 3 times a day on my alarm, present, exciting, and caring. I've always had energy on my side, but I did not have sustained energy on my side. I've always wanted to be present with others, but I always found myself thinking about the next thing I got to do, or I'm on my phone, really not really engrossing what they're saying. And I've always wanted to be that caring person, but I found myself worked up with my self-limiting beliefs that really made me not trust a lot of people. So those words mean a ton to me because I once was not them. So when someone says, I wish I had that day to day, you can. So own your choices. Own the way that you're going to thrive and feel better in life. And the final piece is probably one of my favorite pieces to life, is participate in the process. So that is the phrase that you've heard before, trust the process. I've heard recently from my mentor, Brendon Burchard, honor the struggle. So when you participate in the process, you start to really take a step back and say, I'm going to do these small, insignificant steps because it's the process. It's what's going to get you there. So if I said 3 years ago, no, I want to be at a mastermind now. Get me there now. My arms are crossed. I'm stomping my feet, and I feel like I need it now. That's how most of us think. Not as dramatic as I just put it, but that's how most of us think. They want to be there now. But do you want to be here 10 years from now? Do you want to be doing this legacy 10 years from now? And whatever this legacy is for you, and we're going to figure that out over time. Again, participate in the process. Trust the process. Do you want to be here 10 years from now? Because when you ask yourself that, you're going to be here 10 years from now. And you're going to go through the ups and the downs and the up, down, downs and everything in between to get there. And you're going to have that moment that you're thriving. You're going to have that moment where you're feeling so freaking great that you don't even know how to describe it. And you're going to have that moment that it's all full circle for you. And then you're going to do it all over. Because that's a life worth living for. That's a life worth waking up for. And that's a life worth putting your head down at rest for. Guys, you just got through lesson 1, week 1. I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud of you for even just taking this step to click play on this first episode. I'm really proud of you for the next steps that you're going to take in the worksheet to reflect. This is a time in your life that you're always going to remember because it's a time that you took the chance on you to create the legacy worth living for.